to all of you. We have about 45 minutes for that. After the CAT as exam was very simple, as most of you would have kind of felt, whether you have attempted 30 questions, 50 questions or 90 questions. Overwhelming feeling after writing the CAT exam for everybody was that the paper was an easy paper. But you will also realize that actually if the paper is very, very easy, or the paper appears very, very easy, it is very difficult to pinpoint whether you have really done well or not. You will always come out of the exam hall feeling good about yourself. But then when you see that everybody also feels the same, that is where the issue comes into picture, saying that then you start questioning yourself whether you were good enough or everybody else was better off, or you were as good as others, kind of thing. Last time about CAT itself, when after the 22nd I was talking about, when you go to various forums, whether it is the pagalguy.com forum or various other forums, people have posted attempts of 90s and 80s and 100s kind of things almost. Now I am not saying people would not have attempted 90 plus, but the percentage of people attempting 90 plus will be very, very small, very, very small. In fact, it's 0.01 type, 0.05 types. Similarly, the number of people attempting 50s and 60s will be far higher. Yes, we did some kind of a recalibration of our numbers when we collected close to 3,000 figures of what people have attempted. Purely on the attempt, we are not even really looking at how many people think they'll get 80% correct or 100% correct, etc. So we have realized that because the paper is easy and quite a few of them have applied or rather attempted more than 60, 65, therefore it can be categorized, the CAT exam can be categorized as an easy exam, point number one. But that also makes it very difficult to predict the cutoffs. You will see in XAT, the XAT paper, exact opposite of your CAT. In fact, if I really go back to XAT for 15 years also, right from 1999 when I wrote the first XAT paper, I think a long time back, not my paper, but when I started training students for CAT and XAT, XAT 2000, it's always a shock. It's always a shock because it is not what you normally expect in terms of the difficulty level, in terms of the depth of the questions or the breadth of the questions itself. And that's what makes XAT a very, very interesting exam. So I'm going to take you through what do you expect, what has been the kind of a pattern only for the last 3 years, because it's very clearly said, 3-4 years, it is very clearly said in the XAT website also that the pattern will follow very similar to what has been given in the last 3 to 4 years. So let's look at what has been the pattern. The last 4 years pattern, if you quickly look at, the number of questions were very, very similar, 83, 85, 91. Only XAT 2011 was 101 questions. Even there, by the way, just for information for all of you who have been trying to see whether you could send a chat to me or not, I have disabled chat for the next 30 minutes for all of you. Please bear with me. Listen so that you can think and ask almost all questions that you have at the end of the session. So here is where the pattern has been. If you look at one section which is completely different, so to say, from any other exam that a management entrance examination gives, is the decision making section itself. Decision making has always been a hallmark of the XAT paper. Last 4 years, they have given approximately 24-25 questions, and all of them have been very, very similar. All of them have been very, very similar in terms of the types of questions that have been given. as somebody said, what is in decision making, etc. On 15th and 16th or 16th and 17th, any 2 days, one of those 2 days continuously, I'm going to solve the original XAT papers, actual original XAT papers, for you to understand what is that and what should you do to improve it over the next 20-25 days. The quantitative ability and data interpretation is again not similar to what CAT comes in. While the areas are same, in fact last year the number of questions in geometry have been phenomenally high. You always attribute geometry and numbers for a CAT paper. We realized that it is the same or was exactly the same or even more for the XAT paper. I have done some analysis of the last 4 years once again, and I'm going to present it to you and actually put up that Excel sheet which I have made on our website on the XAT section as such. The verbal and RC areas, are also not as easy as you can see in CAT or GMAT or SNAP or any other exam. In fact, a lot more critical thinking, critical reasoning is what comes in verbal ability and reading comprehension of that as compared to any other paper. In fact, it requires a slightly, a person who has read a lot of classics, or a person who has been a very voracious reader will find, and voracious and a reader with variety will find the verbal and the reading comprehension area extremely simple. Having said that, a vast majority, and I will call it 99.9% people, will not find it verbal and RC also easy as far as XAT is concerned. There were times, and I am not going to not expect it. In fact, there were times in XAT paper where they have given a poem, and they asked you to interpret the poem for yourself. Interpret the poem, and questions asked on the poem as such. You will find no such, hatke things, something which is completely different from your, expectations, except, so to say, in XAT, the XAT paper. Okay, that's what makes friends XAT a very interesting paper. XAT is also an exam for, is also the written test for not just XLRI, but IIM Bhubaneswar, Loyola Institute in Business Administration in Chennai, Goa Institute of Management, XISS, XIME, etc., all the Xavier's stable institutes. There are institutes like MICA and SP Jain, IMT, and nowadays ITM. Everybody else also takes that course because anybody and everybody is nowadays taking both CAT and XAT. But these 3 or 4 institutes predominantly take the XAT score, especially from the Xavier's stable. Okay, so for all the other institutes, only these 3 sections, QA, DI, DM, and verbal RC, are the ones which are taken for cutoffs, for selection criteria as such. Whereas only for XLRI's HRM program, the BM program, and they also have a global MBA program which is becoming very, very popular. For that exam, they also consider another section, which is the GK section. In fact, the last 2, GK section as well as an essay writing. XAT 2014, mind you, XAT, what you're going to write is XAT 2015 because it's in Jan of 2015, Jan 4th. So while this is our CAT 14 will have XAT 14, CAT 14 will have XAT 15 in that sense. Similarly, the last year's paper, XAT 14, and the previous year, XAT 13, had 20 and 30 GK questions respectively. The cutoff, frankly, doesn't matter. The cutoffs only are for the first, second, and third sections. Essentials, but when XLRI finally takes you, they will also look at your GK section, and they also take your essay writing section. Essay writing is a part of XAT. They give you about 10 to 20 minutes and you are expected to write that essay in 200 words. I would really suggest that over the next 15-20 days, you practice writing essays of 200 words, which will really give you the how to structure those. There will be a class on that essay writing very shortly, but I am saying don't wait for the class. You start on your own and start writing that. Okay. Now here is where you can see 2 stars given to you. XAT 2012 and XAT 2011. The verbal section also included some logical reasoning questions. Logical reasoning, or what we call it LR as in cat, was also given in verbal and RC, but not too many logical reasoning questions come in. In the last 2 years, if you look, 1 or 2 questions in Venn diagrams or sets do come in, but they come in now in decision making at the max, not necessarily in verbal ability, especially for XAT 13 and XAT 14 as such. Somebody asked me what comes in XAT. These are the 2 types of essays I am going to put you up for information only. XAT 2014, the topic was the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Helen Keller. She has written this, and that is what is given as the essay. You write 200 words on that. 2013 was a more general topic. Corruption is the root cause of economic slowdown in India. This was also the time, friends, when you look at it at the peak of our Anna Hazare's campaign was going on. So probably that's what they put it across. Corruption is the root cause of economic slowdown. I can't say the same thing for 2014. I think it's an abstract, so to say, an abstract topic. Okay, so you can see very clearly that over a very clear understanding is about 30-35 questions in the quant and the data interpretation sections, 24-25 questions in the decision making section, and about 28 to 30 in the verbal ability reading comprehension section. Out of this 28-30, almost half of them are reading comprehension questions. Half of them are reading comprehension questions. Please mind you. So in other words, I am saying you are talking about getting about anything between 85 to 90 questions, and you can expect a similar repeat of that in XAT 2015 also. Okay, so that's my first understanding of the pattern. Those of you have, make a note of it so that you know mentally prepared for what the paper is also. But again, what more important is to understand what have been the cutoffs to get through. These are for XLRI, HRM and the BM program. As you can clearly see here, friends, the quantitative ability for HRM students, the percentile cutoff is only 70. Whereas for the same quantitative ability for business management and or the global MBA is as high as 90 percentile. Decision making has always been 80 percentile, and the verbal ability section has been again 80 percentile for BM and global MBA, but HRM was 85 percentile. Just while I have given you these numbers, these are for XAT 2014. Let me also tell you that the actual quant cutoff for both HRM and BM could be lesser than this. In XAT 2013, for example, the quant cutoff percentile wise was as low as 77 percentile, and the quant percentile for HRM, the human resource management program, was as low as 57 percentile. 57 percentile, that's all. Now here is where, if you can see, the 80 percentile marks that I am talking about for XAT 2014. These are actually expectations, not guaranteed numbers, but you can see clearly that 6 marks out of, remember, we had 31 questions in quant. 6 marks. There are +1, -1/4, because there are 5 choices in the paper. You will get +1 mark for every question and -1/4 for every wrong answer. In other words, you are talking about getting 6 marks out of 30 questions. That's 20% of the marks. 20% of the marks. Similarly, in decision making, it's slightly higher, about 30%, 35%, because decision making is more of, reasoning of the question rather than, solving too much. There was, of course, one set on probability you will find, but it's also very simple, expected value kind of probability. And the interesting part is the verbal ability section, where we believe the last year's cutoff would have been as low as 6 again out of 30 questions, which is again 20%. Okay, so this is where the beauty of the XAT exam is. The overall marks out of 85, if you're talking about 25 marks is the cutoff, which is my 94 percentile. Maybe for 94 percentile in BM, the score would have been 27 marks. That's less than 33%, less than 30 or close to 30% of the total mark for the paper. Compare this with your CAT. Obviously, this XAT is a much tougher paper, but more importantly, it's much more easier to get through if you plan your exam very correctly. The third thing that I'm showing you here, if you notice, if you can see this, guys, is this is for your IIM Bhubaneswar, SP Jain, GIM, LIBA and IFMR. I've just put some 4 important institutes. GIM, LIBA, XAT, they take about 90 percentile. They take about 90 percentile. SP Jain has taken purely 95 percentile for XAT. But if you have a good profile, they even consider 85 percentile for XAT. IFMR, though they say 80 percentile, they actually take less than that, maybe even 70, 75 percentile. IIM Bhubaneswar incidentally takes as close to cutoff as the business management program, close to 94, 95 percentile as compared to the normal business management program. Again, IIM Bhubaneswar, the flagship program is what I am talking about. Okay, so these are the percentile cutoffs and marks. You can clearly see. Okay, if these are the cutoffs for 2014, I think it's shade more. For 83 marks, the cutoff was about 25. You can see 24, 25. And last year, if I look at it, XAT 2013, the cutoff would have been about 33 or so, approximately around 30, 33 or so for the business management program. So you will have to understand that it's slightly, okay, not a very huge increase. The paper also, XAT 2013 was slightly more easier than the 14 paper, and hence the cutoff, even if it goes up, is going to go up very, very marginally. Fair enough? So that's the issue about percentile cuts, the pattern. What you should expect, the cutoffs will be far lesser. 94 percentile for business management, only 88 percentile for HRM. Therefore, a significant number of people have a chance of getting it. In fact, if 1 lakh people write the exam, almost the top 12,000 have a chance of getting into HRM. That's the beauty of it. Last year, about 60,000 people wrote, therefore about 7,000 people had the chance to get in. Much more easier than the CAT exam in the top levels. And let me assure you one more thing before I continue. The HRM program of XLRI is #1 in the country, even better than probably the IIMs. If IIMs actually don't even have an HRM program, but it is the #1 in the country for sure. Okay. Now this is where I will just leave it for a moment, savor this for a moment of how the paper was. This is the 5 years. I will send it across to you. It will be available on the website also. I have done this myself. So you can clearly see arithmetic last year was very, very little. But if you look at XAT 13, XAT 12, XAT 10, arithmetic was pretty high. Pretty high. XAT 12, XAT 13, XAT 12. In fact, interestingly, there is not a single question in time and work given to you in the last 5 years of XAT. Those of you are writing SNAP, you will see exact opposite of it. The maximum number of questions in arithmetic are from time and work in SNAP in the last 3-4 years. But again I am saying, but look at what is it that maximum given. Clearly geometry and mensuration. Look at every year, 28 questions in the last 5 years, 8 questions last year, 4 in the previous before, 5 kind of thing. Even if you look at numbers, last year there were 4, the year previous to that 5, only that 2012 was very less. That 2012 incidentally was a little interesting paper where they gave a maximum number of arithmetic questions. Now I do not know what you will get, but if you see the complete, look at this what I am showing you. If for the last 5 years, if I just add up the total numbers, 33 is arithmetic, 29 is algebra, 28 is geometry mensuration, 29 is your pure mathematics. Pure mathematics typically is probability, or sometimes, in fact there was very high trigonometry in that 2011. Statistics, 1 question almost always, trigonometry 1 question almost, etc. So 29 questions. So if you can look at it, there is a very even divide of the sets, the areas, 4 areas that you can think of. One other thing you can see is in all the years, data sufficiency, there were 2 questions. More often than not, these data sufficiency were there, 1 in numbers, 1 in geometry, always, almost always. So data sufficiency, if there were 2 questions, one was a time and distance question, numbers question, or one was a geometry question. So was the case in 2013, 2011 and 2010. But these 2 are included in the numbers that I have already given to you. This information I am going to put it across to all of you on our website itself, so that it's for you to kind of plan your even the next 30 days, 22 days of where will you put in your effort in. Somebody asked me, what should I do more? Once again I can clearly say mensuration is very important. Geometry and mensuration and numbers are paramount. 3 will obviously be time and distance. I would go with time and distance quite a lot, and or the ERPV PPL only. And the last one which I'm going to spend, in fact I'm going to talk about it in the next slide, is probability, because probability is something very interestingly, almost all years except 12, they have given 2 questions. Okay, so that's the very quick quant analysis. I don't have similar analysis for, but you can always, all the 5 papers of quant of XAT are available on the XAT website. Okay, so what should you do for preparation? Plan for preparation. Very quickly I'm going to take you through, and then the strategy for the exam. First, guys, a total number of papers that will be available to you, the mocks plus the original XAT papers, will be 9. 5 original XAT papers which will be put up on our website. There on the XAT website itself, I am going to put up the solutions for this, the key and solutions for this on our website, plus 2 XAT papers are already there. We are going to put up 2 more XAT mocks, so that will make it total of 9 papers. Multiply that into an approximate questions of 90, that's about 810 questions over 20 days. That's all you have, 22 days. 810 questions, 20 odd days, that's more. I mean, technically I'm saying, boss, do about 50 questions a day. 50 questions a day. Okay? 50 questions should take you about a couple of hours maybe, but that should be the way you should look at it. What should I concentrate on quant and DI? Quant and DI, clearly numbers, mensuration, geometry, probability, basics of statistics, especially deviation, mean, median, mode. There have been always questions on the relationship between mean, median and mode, and of course, I don't think there have been any questions on standard deviation or variance as such. So these are 3, mean, median, mode. These are the only 3 areas where I would expect you to spend time on. Time and distance is one quick area, and of course percentage profit and loss. These are the areas which because I have only 20 days to go, this is what I would concentrate on. What I would again suggest is go through. It's useful for SNAP, it's useful for NMAT, those who are writing it. Go through the VistaMind handouts and nothing else. I don't think you need anything else if you go through the handouts at least to be able to get that kind of cut-off marks. Then comes decision making. Now the same 9 papers above that I am talking about, each has about 25 questions, 175 questions. I will take up 2 sets of these questions, solve these 175 questions, friends. I think it will be more than sufficient for your decision making. There is no book or questions available to you separately on decision making. These are, some of them are, some of the questions they have given previously also had come in Maharashtra, CET, etc. But believe me, it doesn't really require huge amount of preparation for decision making. These 175 questions, if you can plan over the next 20 days or next 23, 24 days, that means every 2 days finish 25 questions, or every day do some 10, 12 questions of data, decision making, I think it is really, really good enough. On 15th, 16th is where I will baptize you with this if you have already not seen these papers. The areas to concentrate in verbal ability and reading comprehension are critical reasoning. This is something which is very useful. In fact, the LRTs, couple of LRTs that are available with you, critical reasoning of GMAT. Now, there may not be questions directly in critical reasoning which can come in, though there were questions in that 2012. But what I would say is this will help you to, sharpen your brain, sharpen your reasoning methodology very, very nicely. Then, of course, you will have reading comprehension. Again, very difficult to do anything more at this stage in 20 days, 25 days, except I can say, boss, read a little more. In fact, again, whatever the papers are available, if you can just do them once more, I think should be very, very comfortable, because it's very difficult to, pinpoint on what that will give you kind of thing. In fact, I will see if I can put in, I have papers of that 2005, 6, 7 also. I'll see if I can put them onto the website and do the critical reasoning or reading comprehension questions from those papers too. Then of course, grammar. I don't know what else you can do except for going through all the grammar questions that you have done till now, all the VistaMind handouts as well as some of the CAT, smart CATs. It will definitely help you. And lastly, one area which is very interesting for, they give you grammar. In grammar, one is prepositions, the a and the articles a and the prepositions like if, of, if, what do you call it? So on, in, all those things which come in, at, etc. comes in very interestingly in your that paper. Idioms and phrases, again, I am not saying that you spend too much of time on, but at least I think going through all the last 10 years of that papers will kind of give you an idea of what comes in. Those questions will not come in obviously, but at least will give you an idea. It's almost impossible to prepare for idioms and phrases. If you have been reading enough, I think you will be able to get quite a bit of it well. Okay, just give me one moment, friends, just one moment. So coming to the basic preparation, friends, in the next 20-25 days that we have, I don't think we can do more than going through the basic papers that are available to us and doing that very, very thoroughly. Rather than doing a lot of these, if you do things available very thoroughly, I think it will suffice. As I said, 5 papers will be put up, of course, plus with solutions and key and solutions at least. And I'll try to put another 3 or 4 of the previous years, which will really give you an idea about the paper. Now, here is my simple understanding and simple way of test taking strategy of how do you divide your time. You have 120 minutes. The extra time for GK and essay will be given to you. But normally, 120 minutes when you are given, the classical way of solving comes into picture. Verbal and RC do not spend more than 30-35 minutes. Decision making actually is the most scoring. If you look at the cutoffs also, decision making is actually more scoring than your verbal and verbal and quant. Hence, 35 to 40 minutes plus slightly higher marks, higher amount of time for decision making. And for quant and DI incidentally, I can only tell you if I look at the last 3-4 year papers, sometimes it is very easy because it's counting questions. And last year, for example, the 3 sets was so goddamn difficult, meaning difficult in the exam hall. Outside when you come and you try to solve it, it will always be easy. But in the exam hall, even to understand the set, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. And then trying to solve the questions was not always that much more easier. So I am saying give about 30 to 35 minutes for verbal RC. Again, whether it is 30 or 35, you decide before you go into the XAT exam. Or once you start, you will have the paper, you will know how many questions are there in which section. So you decide, write it down for yourself how much time you're going to spend. Stick to that basic time limits without any doubt about it. So the logic is very simple. This is traditional test taking strategy. Start with your strength area. If you are good in quant, start with quant. Doesn't matter if you do 12 questions or 15 questions, guys. If you can get the 10 marks, you are going to be a 99 percentiler there. Please understand that. Very, very likely that you will be very, very in the top. 6 marks is the cutoff, and that is 80 percentile, 85 percentile. Understand that. Then make sure that you keep that buffer time. Whenever you are dividing your time, always keep that 5 minutes of buffer time. It's very important that you do it so that you will lose it, or you will use it for that 1 odd question, 2 odd questions which you have left out in the 3 sections. As Seshi was telling me, despite the paper being easy, Seshi, you said that you have kind of not done that very, very well. I think one big reason people don't do well in CAT or in XAT or any exam is because they waste a lot of time on lengthy questions. Another thing I can tell you, if the question looks easy and you think that's the only question you can solve, and still if you are not able to solve in the first 2-3 minutes, guys, there's no other way of saying it, but do not throw good time on bad rubbish. That is important. Make sure that you keep time limits for the decision making, because decision making is in sets, reading comprehension and your data interpretation. 1 second. Okay, so then the idea here again, what I'm trying to say, friends, is very simple. Make sure that even in the decision making, reading comprehension or DI, where they are given in sets, you give set in time. See, when you start a set, there are 3 questions in that set. You tell, okay, 5-6 minutes I'll give to the set. If you're not able to set it, in the first 3 minutes, if you don't understand it, get out of it. Only if you're able to understand it, continue for the next 2-3 minutes extra, which you have given it for. Okay, lots of, absolutely Shruti, all, in fact there is one, in fact yesterday you asked me, Shruti, I'm going to make sure that all mocks are going to be in PDF format available. Those of you who are free, you download those XAT papers and write it as a paper and pencil if you want it, kind of things. There are sectional cutoffs, Sumitro, and this PPT I will put up on our website so you can see the cutoffs which are given too. Okay, the critical reasoning areas, I would suggest you to go through any GMAT book, it will be useful for you. The GK material on the VistaMind website, which is a Vista Career magazine, monthly issues, are what I want you to go through. It will be very, very good. That's why I'm saying GK. For GK, you please go through the Vista Career magazine. Spend about 7 to 10 hours on the last 6 papers, last 6 magazines. Download it if required be. It will be useful. That is also not a bad idea, MD. what I'm saying is you can try various other things, but make sure that you give the correct time correctly. Yes, Piyush, 90 is what they say. It can go down to something like 75 percentile, Piyush. Very correctly, for GIM. Yes, Harish, they will take the best of the two scores. They will take the best of the two scores. Akshay, it's not about number of attempts. If you can get a last year paper, for example, out of 83, if you had got 35 marks, you would have been 99.5 percentile.
చదువుకోవడం 20 hours ఇట్లా కూర్చొని చదవలేం కదా.
See, that's what Prasida. You got 51 percentile. That's the reason why you did not make it. Because there is an individual cutoff also. Individual cutoffs also, I have put it across on this sheet itself, which I will again share it with you. Yes, absolutely enough for both XAT and SNAP. Absolutely sure of this. See, please understand that for XLRI, unlike for the IIMs, the 10th, 12th marks are not really going to be mattering. They will give you as cutoffs of the exam itself. Only the finals will change depending on your interview as such. Shruti, if you look at for SNAP, what I would suggest is you have to give more time to logical ability section. While there are only 30 questions in it, the marks are for 60. So you see the questions are 40, 40, 40 and 30. I'm talking about SNAP, friends. The sections are logical ability has 30 questions, GK has 40 questions, Quant and DI has 40 questions, and verbal and RC has 40 questions. Shruti, if I can give you a quick idea, for the first verbal ability 40 questions you should give 30 minutes. For GK you should give about 10 minutes. For 30 questions of logical ability another 35 minutes, and maybe about 40 minutes for your quant section, simply because you will be, or maybe even 40 minutes for your logical ability and 35 minutes for your quant section, so that you can really maximize your score. Remember, you need to give more time to logical ability section because it carries 60 marks. No, Rahul, all institutes don't take sectional cutoffs. Only few of them take. Mock 2 of them are already put up. 2 will be put up in this week, friends. IFT cutoff, Praveen, I think it's available on the website itself. I have given you, I just don't remember it offhand right now. Please check on the website, our website, IFT analysis. Yes, Deepak, SNAP takes individual cutoffs, but the cutoffs normally will be less. Rohan, for XLRI's BM program, last year paper, if you look at it, was about 27, 28 marks. But again, I'm saying, depending on the cutoff, depending on the difficulty level, it will be in the 30 plus or minus range of for a 80 mark, 90 mark paper. The PDF formats, Ranjit, will be put up for both SNAP and XAT. For RC, friends, Sashi, I think just go through all the papers of the last 7 years. It will help you one round. To a large extent, lots of things are free except the mock papers, guys. We put up quite a lot of them to come to VistaMind to see them, kind of thing. The next session I think is on 15th, if I'm not wrong. The information again of that is on the website also. DI questions were about 9 questions or 8 questions, Somik. No, if you are already a student of VistaMind, you don't have to register for that. Not for everything, friend, Windows. Shruti, I think CAT results will come around 18, 19 is what I am expecting. or maybe one day before or one day after. No, for us, they will not be, GK will not be considered for the thing. Vishal, I will do that quickly with, I'll make sure that somebody takes up immediately in a day or two max for snap. Lalita, if you are guests, you won't be able to take up mocks, you will have to pay up for that specifically for that mocks. Yes, Sanjay, Sambit, absolutely. Anybody who gets cut-offs will have absolutely equal chances, unlike in CAT where they will look at percentiles, 10th, 12th degree marks. It is online, Lakshman, as well as it will be, if actually the exam is paper based, but we have put it online, you can download it and take the paper as a online paper, as a paper and pencil test. Samarth, I am going to put all the 5 mocks on our website, but you go to that website, you will find all of them already. I am going to put up along with the keys. That's what I am trying to say. Okay? Weightage for graduation will be post the exam, maybe about 10% kind of things. Not BM of XLRI, Rohan. I am talking about the PMIR, the HRM, the Human Resource Management Program is definitely better than all institutes in this country. It's number 1 in the country. Windows 8, I don't know what your name is. 48 questions you attempted. I do not know what your accuracy rate. That will be depending on the accuracy only I can tell you, because a lot of people have attempted more than that. So it will be very difficult for me to tell you what is that kind of things. Faraz, I've just done the same thing. In fact, I don't know, I think you have come in late. That's exactly my session what has been, what you should attempt. The last slide on test strategy was how many attempts should be made to get that 80 percentile. Please go through that once again is what I would say. Sashi, I'm going to take up the DM sessions on 15th and 16th. 2 sessions. There are 10 sessions totally. 2 on DM, 1 on RC, 2 on quant or 3 on quant, 1 on essay writing, likewise 1 on GK, etc. Totally 10 sessions in the next 10 days. The whole idea is to give you a overview of, this is a general strategy session, but getting a little more depth into those things is what we will do on 15th, 16th starting. That will be 30-40% Akshay. Yes, Lalita Sri, there is a recorded session. Same thing will be put up tomorrow morning on our website, tomorrow afternoon. Yes, Aditya, the same 30-minute, which is what is there, I am going to put it up on the website.